can honestly say this is our most important interview we've ever had on the show. Um, we have Heisman Trophy winner, Tennessee State head coach, Big South OVC Coach of the Year, Eddie George for joining us. You know the crew. I'm Kendrick. That's Chris Stevens, Ken Rashad, and Jared Hoffman. Coach George, thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem at all, my man. Not a problem at all. It's my pleasure. How you guys doing this evening?
Oh, we're good.
Good, good.
Doing well, sir.
All right, good, good.
Yeah, 2024 was a big year for you. Tennessee State, you helped them to the FCS playoffs. As I mentioned before, you won Coach of the Year in the conference, and then your Ohio State Buckeyes won the national championship. Of those
hmm
things that happened, which one kind of like meant the most to you?
Oh, without question, winning the OVC. Ohio State, they'll be all right. I'm not. That's that. They're not cutting me any checks, so I'm good. but nah. Seriously, no, winning the OVC South was really great. Being at Tennessee State, my goal has always been to bring this football team back to national prominence. We've had an opportunity to do that a little bit this year. Experience, our beak wet in terms of that, of what it took for us to be, to really before I got here to have only won 4 games in 2 years to now winning nine 4 years later, and a season and an OVC championship the first time since '99 in 25 years was really gratifying. And just watching the young men come through the program and building and trusting the process and developing and growing has been phenomenal. So just that whole aspect has been awesome.
So, Coach, so when did you know that your team would be capable of making this run to the playoffs and competing for a conference championship? At what point during the season or before the season you thought this team has the elements we needed to make a run?
Well, it goes back to not this past season, but the season prior to that. We went 6-5. We started off 6-2, and we didn't finish strong. And I think it was because of a lot of different factors that went into it. Our conditioning, our lack of real nutrition in the end, and we ran out of gas. We weren't built to the point in terms of depth wise to get there. So jumping into this season, the whole cry was to be 9 units strong by November and to get stronger through the month of November. So we committed to that mantra. We got bigger, stronger, faster in the off season. Really challenged our captains and our team to real leadership and what that looked like. And they bought into it, and that was the key. We didn't focus on winning a championship. We knew that was the destination, but we had to really focus on the habits associated with that. And that was being coachable, being on time. We are brand ambassadors of the university, not just on the football field, but in the classroom, in the cafeteria, and the housing department. When we hit the streets of Nashville, we were at TSU, it means something to you. So really taking pride in that and holding each other accountable to a higher standard holistically was really the key to it all. So we just really homed in on that. And once we did that and not really focused on the end result, we're just getting better each and every single week. That was our intention, and that's what happened. So I always felt that we had a chance. I'm always going to believe that we can win every single game, even we don't have a good football team. I'm always believing for that. But I really felt that this unit was really bought into each other and they respected one another. There was a real brotherhood and a bond there that wasn't there previous years. And I was really excited to see that. So, you never really know, if you're going to have a chance to win a championship. You just know you're gaining momentum as the season goes on. And it was just a phenomenal year.
Anybody else want to go?
Yeah, coach. Obviously, with you playing in the Rose Bowl and the Super Bowl, you're used to this whole big game atmosphere. So, what do you want your guys that are returning in 2025 to take from the Montana experience?
Well, where do we build from there? I think now you could take this year and look at the success and say, hey, we made it to the playoffs and that's great. But the next step is, to make it a routine. It's expected that we go back. Um, and that's going to be, going from good to great. We went from a team that nobody talked about, that was on record on paper not a winning football team, to becoming a winning football team. Now, how did we go from good to now great? And that margin is this thin. It's so small. It's not You're not too far off, but it's the toughest to accomplish because it takes more accountability, more discipline, more focus, all the things that took for us to get from point A to point B, from being an average team to a pretty good team. To take that next step is going to require so much more. So that's the next step. We want to compete for a national title. I think that's going to be a tall tale for us. We're not looking to regress. We're looking to move forward and build off the momentum we built last season.
Also, I had a quick question about the status of the Southern Heritage Classic. We learned earlier today that you guys are gonna, punt that one for 2025.
Mhm.
What are your overall impressions? Obviously, coming into the HBCU space, learning how classics are usually part of the lifeblood of Black college football, but you have an
Yep.
obligation to have your team playing more competitive games. Where do you stand on the status of the Southern Heritage Classic and classics in general? Do you feel like that's something you would still want your team to participate in eventually?
Absolutely. I mean, this is still an HBCU school, and what matters here is playing other HBCUs. And I get it, and I think that needs to be a part of the conversation every single year now. In this certain situation with the Southern Heritage Classic, from a financial standpoint, um, just couldn't make it happen the way that we hoped, given where the challenges of where Tennessee State is holistically as a university. And this is something we hope to regain in the future. Hopefully we can get Jackson State back on um board to play us in the Southern Heritage Classic. We're talking about doing more, this year. For example, John Merritt Classic, we want to have the North Carolina A&T. They're going to be coming in for the John Merritt Classic. We have Howard for homecoming. So when we're scheduling out games, we have to be mindful. Yes, we want to be competitive and jump out the footprint of HBCUs and play for a national title, because that's our conference. We play in the OVC, Big South OVC, but keeping in mind that we need to play the other brands of HBCUs, because our fan base loves it. We love it. We feel like it's a part of our history, and we cannot negate that. That's something that we're always going to have, whether it's 3 or 4 games, and really harp on the fact that we need to challenge and compete with against other HBCUs.
And I have one final question, and then I'll cede the floor to my coworkers. When you guys obviously play home games in Nissan Stadium at this point in time, and
Hmm.
Tennessee State has had, as you mentioned, financial problems. Would you prefer that they continue playing at Nissan, or would you rather have an on-campus stadium eventually? What do you think works best for your team?
Well, when I first got here, I felt like we needed to play more games on campus. That's where the energy is. I mean, it's okay to play in a great NFL stadium, but it doesn't serve us. I think, for our fan base, certainly for the students, to come right to the game from campus, that's where it becomes alive, and that's where a real competitive advantage from a home standpoint comes from. Living here for so long, for the last 27 years, all I've heard was how great campus life was when on football Saturdays down in the hole. So, a few things has to happen, has to be renovated. Parts of it's been old, it's condemned. It has to be updated in that regard. We talked about that since I've been here, was refurbishing the hole, getting more games down there, and quite frankly, I'm all for it. Now there is an opportunity to play in Nissan, or the new Nissan Stadium, when it happens, when we play against the other classic, in a classic game like the John Merritt Classic, where it can hold about 35,000, in a new venue. If you're playing like a FAMU or Alabama A&M or Alabama State or someone like that, I think there's room to do that, but I do hope for the fact that we can play more home games on the campus, because that's where the pageantry is. That's the tradition of Tennessee State.
Coach, talk to me about Draylon Ellis. Obviously, he's somebody that came to you from within the conference at Austin P, in I believe it was 2022 that he came to your team. He
Mhm.
he kind of had his bit of struggles with the team, but this year it really clicked for him. One, what did you see in him that made you want him a part of your team? Two, what how did you help him navigate through those, I don't want to say struggles, but maybe where he wasn't living up to his
He wasn't
ability?
living up to standard. Yeah, he wasn't living up to the
Yeah,
standard.
maybe living up to the
Yeah,
standard. In three, and
yeah.
what do you think clicked for him that allowed him to have the big year that he had?
One, well, when I first saw Draylen, we were competing against him when he was at Austin P. Um, he was a freshman at the time, and we played him twice that year. We beat him once up in Austin P, and then they beat us in the last game of the season. So I was well aware of who he was. Got into some, some challenges at Austin P, and they decided to go their separate ways. And he really didn't have too many opportunities or in other places to go. And I was looking for a quarterback. I knew of his arm talent. I knew that he had great potential, and it really was on him to take the game serious and really become the leader that I was hoping that he would become. So first year he was here didn't go so well. Was banged up a little bit. Offense didn't quite complement his talents. The second year, kind of the same thing. Was kind of in and out. Wasn't really committed to being the starter, and he wasn't the starter. He wasn't even the captain on our team. So coming into this year, I had to make some changes on my staff to get the right coaches in the building to really pull his talent out. Coach Travis Partridge, who's the offensive coordinator, also the quarterback coach, really wanted to be here and coach Draylen, and I gave him that opportunity. And he said, "Coach, I can make him right." And we really harped on Draylen, not on the field because we knew that he can be a great player, but he had to get buy-in from his teammates. He had to really take ownership of where he was and what was he going to do about it. He became a better student, a better teammate, became the captain, showed up early, stayed late, really gained the respect of his teammates. And that was the biggest difference. He's a father of two kids. And I think he understood, man, I need to get my life together because I'm an example for them. And everything that I pour into him or challenge him with is geared toward how is he going to raise his children? What does he want his children to see? And he turned the corner, man, and just took off. I mean, it was just awesome to watch him grow, truly grow as a captain and as a leader of this football team. And that was the biggest difference in the season that he had. And it led to him having a phenomenal year, 3,000-yard passer. I think top five all time in Tennessee State history in passing yards in a single season. Over 10,000 yards in his career, 28 touchdowns last season, only seven interceptions, and he was the reason why we were able to go on that run because of his play and his ability to make things happen and to show that grit and grind and to be able to fight through adversity. It was just great to see him grow up in that capacity.
And you talked about something that I would like you to expand upon. You said that you felt like you needed to get the coaches in that were necessary to maximize his potential. And throughout your tenure as head coach at Tennessee State, you've had a roster turnover, not only on the coaching staff, but on the roster. Obviously running back Devon Starling, he transferred out. The Buck Buchanan Award winner Terrell Allen, he's somebody who transferred out. And you still had this level of success, and obviously you're used to it as a player, at the NFL level. But how, kind of tell me what the difference is between how you navigate roster turnover as a player and how you've done it as a coach. Is there any difference? Is it something that you've done differently in terms of
Mhm.
navigating it? How has it worked from your vantage point?
Well, I'll speak from as a coach. As a player, I was pretty much with one organization my entire career. But as a coach, there's something about the development piece. You can't forget about that. I embrace developing young men. I embrace that part. I love coaching them up and teaching them how to be a professional, how to approach the game, how to get bigger, stronger, faster. Because I was developed. I didn't come in ready ready made. I had to develop at Ohio State through some very tough lessons, and I had to learn how to get stronger. I had to learn how to work. I had to learn how to work in the weight room. And one thing somebody was not going to do against me was they were not going to outwork me. No one was going to outwork me, and that was my number one goal. So I bring that same attitude and demeanor to Tennessee State, and I challenge my kids that way. So when we do have turnover, okay, it's next in line, and that goes back to the whole 9 unit strong mantra of it's not just one individual, it's the power of the unit, it's the power of the defensive back room, it's the power of the defensive line room. You know, as TA got bigger and he was developed and won the Buck Buchanan Award and went on to play Power Five ball at Tulane last year, was the next up in line. So that's how we train. In terms of coaches, it's the same thing, is a succession plan. I've been through various coordinators, been through other coaches, still going through a coaching change because guys, as success comes, they go up another level. So I've been able to identify what I'm looking for, key traits in coaches that will help Tennessee State, these young men, reach their full potential. And it's all about, is he a great teacher? Can he teach the position? Can he teach him life? Can he challenge him? Can he, hold him accountable to the highest standard that's required here at Tennessee State? So um, that's what I do. I embrace that part about development because some coaches are blessed with a great deal of talent, and I call it lazy coaching because hell, any I can get a bunch of 5 stars put on the field and win a bunch of games. But what makes the difference in terms of real championship teams is the ability to coach kids to their greatest potential and develop them the way that you see fit. And that's what I try to do.
And just last thing for me is I want to go where you were going in terms of being a teacher to these the players that you're in your locker room, because obviously these players are more than athletes. These are black men who are trying to live the best life that they possibly can, learning more
Hmm.
about themselves and getting the best education that they possibly can from a
Hmm.
black institution. So talk to me about what you've learned from these players and about yourself when it comes to teaching them about navigating life and about being black men in America and living up to their best potential and being the best possible person they could be.
Well, for me, it stretches me every day because I have to get better. I have to be a better teacher. Where I was in year one to until now, I would like to think that I've grown tremendously, and that was through a lot of mistakes, a lot of missteps, during this whole ordeal, and I still make have missteps. But I don't look at those as failures. I look at those as learning opportunities in terms of how I could have done something better, become a better listener, lead with compassion. Now, find striking the balance between laying the hammer versus having an open hand and shaking somebody's hand and embracing them with love. It's really reading the room and knowing your players. So I've had to really step out of my comfort zone and deal with these players on a one-on-one level without losing that barrier of respect of player and coach. I'm not here to be your friend, but I will be your friend in a moment. But understand that there is a hierarchy here, and I'm trying to lead you and guide you the best way possible. And how I coach is how I father my own sons, and I learned from them. From from the time that they were born till now. Like the relationship changes and it grows. So I'm always looking to learn. So it stretches me and it stretches me that way. Um, and as far as being young men, black men in America, and just the experiences. We know the challenges beyond that. And I tell them, I said, listen, what we're going through here at Tennessee State is shaping you for the real world. If you make it through here, you can make it anywhere because it's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. You have to learn how to do hard better. And you have to, and that's just the way it goes because you know through the trials, through the tribulations, through the adverse situations. That's where the gold is in the valleys. You can't stay on top of a peak mountain forever. You got to come back down that mountain only to climb up another facade and find a way and embrace that process, because that's what life is. It's the highs and lows, and how do you respond to each one, with the successes and the failures. And you don't treat one any differently than the other. It's about maintaining a level head, trusting God, trusting your purpose, and ultimately, building those sound relationships that last a lifetime. And that's what we've been able to do.
Coach, I want to talk to you quickly about obviously this season, and it was without question a successful one. But I think it's safe to say, and I think all of us can agree, the NIL struggle is real for more schools, for some schools more than others. Talk about the challenge of players who now have the ability to pretty much come and go as they please. We literally have seen players who in the last 3 years have literally played for 3 different programs.
Yeah.
Talk about, and I know a lot of people have personally said, Ken, you asked this question ad nauseum, but the more I ask, especially when I ask it of different coaches, depending on their situation at their particular schools, especially at HBCUs, how difficult has that been for you with respect to the players you have now, with respect to bringing more players in? Has that been challenging for you? And how are you navigating that, especially as you go forward, trying to build upon the season that you just completed?
Well, luckily we haven't lost too many guys to the portal. I think we may have lost 3 guys that have played for us, and we tried to go up to another level. And I get it. Some guys want to go to a Power Five school or jump to a Group of Five and bet on themselves and play against higher and tougher competition. I understand that. But honestly, the NIL hasn't really impacted us that much. We're still getting guys that are talented. They want to play. We're getting guys that love to play football. I think these guys see the long-term play versus just the short term in terms of jumping in for, I don't know, $30,000 at another school and only getting a certain amount of playing time that they're not seeing. They're not getting developed the same way that they're going to get here, or they're not being involved in the game plan. Yeah, you might get in the 3 deep, but you might get 4 balls thrown at you versus getting 11 and being the featured guy. So it goes hand in hand. So I'm not ignoring it. I think it can be used as a great tool. In fact, I'm really leveraging my relationships and leveraging this year to get more corporations behind Tennessee State to say there is a new era here. We are getting our stuff together, holistically as a university. This is where I need your help to fill in the gaps with our football program. Here's where the money is going, and it's helping our young men out to stay here, because the reality is it's tough to live in Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, it costs an arm and a leg, and the cost of living is tough. So I'm trying everything I can to get money back into the players' pockets. So it's helped us in some regards, but honestly, we hadn't seen um our whole roster just leave for other opportunities. So, knock on wood, it's been relatively a pretty good deal for us.
And coach, also, it's been said often that with success comes opportunities. And quite recently, you were afforded an opportunity to interview with the Chicago Bears.
Mhm.
Talk about that experience. Was it a surprise when you got the call? Talk about that if you would.
Oh yeah, it was a big surprise. It came it came literally out of left field. I wasn't expecting that one at all. Um, but I wasn't overwhelmed to the point that I said, okay, well, what's the deal here? I've come from the world, I know it, and I was not going to be a checkbox just for the Rooney Rule.
Mm.
I wanted that to be very clear that, hey, if you guys are going to do this, go find another coach that's worthy of this, because I know where I am. I know I get it. I did the Bill Walsh Fellowship Diversity Program. 2 years ago with the Chicago Bears. So I was familiar with them. So I said, listen, let me give me some time to think about it. Let me give me about 48 hours and I'll let you know what I'm gonna do. And I left Charlotte, came back, landed the next morning. I had a couple phone calls from the president and the GM, saying, "Hey, this is what it is. We feel like if you don't get the job, you put your name in the hat, it gets your name out there, it gets you in the cycle of coaches." And I've reached out to other coaches and GMs that I knew personally and asked them about, what me doing this, what are the pros and cons to doing this. A long story short, I didn't see really the bad side of it because in my position where else where I get an opportunity to sit in front of the president, the GM, the owner, other people of the organization to talk about my plan, to talk about my growth as a coach and the ideas that I have. And it was a 3 hour process. It wasn't a 30-minute shake your hand, oh, check, but no, it was an all day deal. And we covered aspects from the players, the coaches, the salary cap, the roster, quarterback game plan, draft day game plan. What would your schedule look like during the course of the month of the week? Based off the CBA. So it really delved deep into the nuances of the business, and it was good for me to go through it because now I understand it. It's something that you're going to have to do because these owners have to get to know you. So I wasn't necessarily okay. I'm going in there to go interview for the job, but I'm setting the table for the other people that may spawn off into other organizations. Like somebody in the room may go to the Carolina Panthers, it may come to the Tennessee Titans, or may go to another organization. So I'm interviewing for them. So they're getting to know who I am, what I bring to the table, and to see if I'm a valid candidate, maybe not this year or this go around, but another opportunity. So it really served a purpose. And the Rooney rule, it gets a lot of flack, but it's necessary in our climate today because people of our color are not afforded those opportunities to get in there and show people who we are and what we bring to the table. We still have to use these things to get in the room. I don't care if you got to come in the side window, the front door, the back door. When you get in the room, you sit in the seat, they still got to deal with you. So that's kind of how I looked at it, and I thought it was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, Coach. Speaking about NFL kind of circumstances, some of your peers, Michael Vick and DeSean Jackson, they both recently were hired by black colleges to be head football coaches. And you and kind of Deion Sanders kind of sparked this kind of situation where schools are now looking for kind of like big name ex NFL players to be coaches. What do you make of those most recent hires with Vick and Jackson, and kind of like what advice would you give them about being first time head coaches?
I would definitely say I'm happy for them. I'm glad. I think it's great. They need to be successful. I want them to be very successful. I think it continues to show ex-athletes that, hey, I don't necessarily have to go through the traditional way of getting into coaching because a lot of us are turned off, have been turned off by what we see on a regular basis for coaches, the long hours, the long years, and minimal opportunities for certain people. And, that's probably part of the reason why I never jumped into coaching to begin with. Um, so for me, it's been, you know, um, just a lesson like, hey, going in, understanding number one is not going to be perfect. Don't expect anything to be perfect. You are coming in to make change. The facility is not going to be great. The training table is probably not going to be great. The housing is not going to be probably be great. The communication with academics and compliance is not going to be great. So going in there understanding that I'm here to solve these problems, do that. And I would advise them to go in and understand first. Understand the landscape in terms of what you're working with, and understanding what the players' needs are, what your coaches' needs are, the academic footprint, your recruiting footprint, your athletic training, and so forth down the line. Gather all that information and give yourself grace and time before you start declaring declarations of what you're going to do. You know, first of all, understand what you got and then be understood. There's a difference. Once you understand what you're dealing with, okay, now you can address it in an appropriate way. And that's how I've chosen to do it. And, not everything needs to be blasted out on social media. Sometimes you just need to be a man to man or a man to woman conversation in terms of what's the win-win or what's the problem. Understanding their perspective and what their challenges are. I said, oh, okay, your system isn't up to date. So maybe I need to come over here and bring our evals to you so they can get turned in a timely manner. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always looking for solutions. So I would definitely say to them, be patient. Um, Go in with a plan. Uh, Seek to get on the same page with your AD and your president consistently. That's going to be key. Having a shared vision, uh, and constantly cultivating that relationship. As time goes on. I would say, hey, go every 2 weeks, sit down, have a cup of coffee with the AD and president to make sure you're still aligned. What's the plan for your recruiting budget? What's the plan for your overall budget? What is your expectations in year 1 to year 3? So those things are going to be very key and very important to have that open line of communication and continue to harp on building the culture. I mean, that's it. Just build the culture inside out, and the players will come.
Coach, we know
Coach,
you
you
got
see
to
down the
go.
road.
Yeah, Coach, I know you got to go.
One more
But
quick question.
you got okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. Just wanted to know, Coach. Will we see like down the road a game between your team and Michael Vick's team and DeSean Jackson's team in the future?
We hope so. I mean, we built out these schedules years in advance. It just comes down to timing, what they have open, what we have open. We played Norfolk State 2 years ago here in Nashville. Would love to see them again. I think they would be great. The same thing with DeSean Jackson. I mean, I have no problem with it at all. I mean, if they want to, do something in the off season, just off the clock, hey, we can meet in the hole. We can meet them halfway, put the ball in the dirt, and let's get busy. So hey, that doesn't matter to me. But I would love to try to play them at some point in time in the future.
Coach, who you got Sunday? Chiefs or Eagles?
Ooh, man, you
Had
went
to put you
there.
on the spot before we go. Got to put you on the spot.
Ooh, man, you know what? I'm gonna give you my hard answer, and I'm gonna give you my head answer. My head answer, of course, is the Chiefs. You can't bet against 15. Just can't. Yeah, if it's 3 seconds on the clock, they got 98 yards to go. They're gonna find a way. They're gonna find a way to win it. But my heart is with Philly. I'm from the area. Grew up an Eagles fan. Would love for them to win another one. And the fact that Saquon Barkley is leading the charge on this one, the return of the running back. Want to see him win one. That would be phenomenal. So I'm gonna actually go with the upset. I'm gonna go with the upset. I think the Eagles get
Ooh.
it done. They got the defense to match up with the Chiefs in the run game to wear them out. So I think I'm gonna go with the Eagles by 2 points.
Oh.
26-24. How to get 26, I don't know, but 26-24.
Coach, I just want to ask real quick. I'm just so curious because obviously Saquon, he had an opportunity to break the single season rushing record, but obviously he opted instead to sit out, and coaches made the decision to sit him out and get him ready for the playoffs. Obviously, we see his working dividends. From your
Yeah.
perspective, what would you have done in that situation? You have a chance, one game, to become the all-time single season rushing leader. Would you have played that game?
Oh man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I mean, either way, you're cemented in history, and it's man, that's a tough call because every running back's dream is to be the all-time leading single season rushing record. That's it. But very rarely do you have a chance to win a Super Bowl. You don't know when those opportunities are going to come. So me, I probably would have gone for the record and tried to, go to the Super Bowl too. 'Cause that's that. I mean, ED's held on to that one for what 20 some odd 30 some odd years, something like that.
I think since
And
'84, I believe.
since 84. So you think about that, and he did it in what 16 games. In 16 games, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's remarkable. So I probably would have tried to go after it, but it speaks to Saquon, selfless. And you're seeing it pay dividends in the playoffs, and he's not he's got 2 weeks to heal up, rest up, and get ready to rock and roll for a final one against the Chiefs coming up Sunday.
Kendrick,
In front
You're
of
on-
company, Kendrick.
in front of
front
Eddie
of company,
George,
I'm on
bro.
mute.
Really?
On the Eddie George.
I
I'm sorry
missed it.
about
What
that, Coach.
happened?
It's a running joke,
Oh,
Coach. He
it's a
running
he
joke.
always
I was
has a
on mute.
tendency to go on mute whenever we do shows, and it
Okay.
happened again. So
Yeah, sorry about that, Coach. I won't live it down. It's my worst one yet. But thanks for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Really great stuff from you. And good luck this season.
Guys, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the time. Thank you. Thank you for having me, and have me back anytime. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
appreciate
Thank you for
you.
joining us.
Thank you.
Coach.
All right.